Nikki, I want to make sure I have this right. Are you for the United States going to China and participating in the Olympic Games?
Absolutely not. I mean, it's horrifying that we are letting our athletes, one, go to this genocide state that is full surveillance, that is they're not protected. They'll be surveilled. Everything they say or do will be watched. And China has already said if they step out of line at all, they'll be punished by Chinese law. I can't believe we're putting them in this situation. We are extremely proud of our athletes. But, you know, at some point, what is Biden and company going to do if they speak out, if they say something and China goes in and holds them and punishes them? I mean, it's unthinkable.
So, because I've read a couple of articles that you have either penned or co-penned, and you do talk about all of the abuses and everything else, but you're like, go have a good time, make good memories, but be careful. And I don't think we should be sending them at all. I am not a boycott person. I'm not a trade embargo kind of guy, but China is evil, and it's time people start saying that.
Absolutely. And we were the first to lead the boycott, the Beijing Olympics from, well over a year ago, saying this was a massive mistake. And we called the diplomatic boycott a joke because China doesn't care if Biden shows up. It's our athletes they wanted. Mm-hmm. But the reason Senator Risch and I penned this op-ed was because no one is telling the athletes, this is what you're walking into. So if you are going to go to these Olympics, no, this is what they're going to do to you. This is how they're going to watch you. And this is what they're willing to do if you go and speak out of line. It's the reality of the situation that Biden is allowing them to go. And I think it's a terrible mistake. I think that we shouldn't have anything to do with this. And there were other countries that were right there with us. Canada had said, boycott the Olympics. Australia had said that. We could have really had a coalition where we said we were not going to do this. And I would say right now, I don't think anybody should watch the Olympics. I don't think anybody should support these sponsors that are sitting there sponsoring the Olympics and showing total hypocrisy.
Well, it seems to be the way of the world now, is to be hypocrites. We have, I don't know if you've seen, it just came out this week, Peter Schweitzer's new book. Peter is, a very credible investigative journalist. He spent about 1.5 years on this book. And when he first started talking to me about it, I thought it was going to be an expose of what the Bidens have been doing in China. That's one chapter. He exposes what is happening in our country. And Nikki, it's treasonous. It's treasonous. They are taking money from companies that are run by the intelligence agency over in China, and it's everyone. Our president has taken $31 million from these companies, and he's involved deeply with them. How do you trust anything?
No, and you know what the most interesting thing is, and I'm just shocked by this, is they're not even hiding it. So you go and say, okay, we're going to give everybody COVID tests. So guess what? If any of you signed up for the COVID test, wait till you get them, turn it over, because guess what? They're made in China, Glenn. Those tests are made in China. Think about that. It's unthinkable. We're getting our N95 masks from China. You're now giving Americans tests from China. And by the way, do you trust those? Do you think those are accurate? And then you look at everything else. You've got our American companies going in. You've got Coke criticizing the Georgia voting law, yet they're going to turn around and support an Olympics where you've got genocide. You've got Airbnb pledging to respect human rights from a country that has complete surveillance over their people. You've got Procter & Gamble promoting racial equity. How can you even translate that when you talk about China? So this is something where America needs to wake up. You and I had a conversation, I think it's still online, about what keeps me up at night. And I talked about the dangers of China. And at some point, America has to wake up and realize you can't go half-assed on China. You have to either understand the full threat that they are and deal with them, or you might as well just be standing shoulder to shoulder and let them just take over everything we do and how we do it. We've seen this in our universities. We're now seeing this in our medical care. You're seeing this with our companies. They've tried to influence our education. This is going to continue to be a problem unless we wake up and say enough.
They haven't tried. They have succeeded. If you read Peter's book, they have succeeded. And you have politicians on both sides of the aisle. The reason why, nobody's going to investigate Joe Biden and his connections to China, which are unbelievable. It is like if Ronald Reagan had his family involved with a company in Russia that was run by the head of the KGB. We would have said, absolutely not. But nobody in Congress is going to say anything. Nobody in the media is going to say anything. Media can't say anything because ABC is owned by Disney and they want to build more parks. NBC is Universal and they want their movies shown. So you can't trust the media. And Mitch McConnell is knee deep almost as much as Joe Biden is. Everybody's involved in it.
This isn't about Republican or Democrat. This is about America. And I think understanding the true threats of China. And so we have to call it out wherever we see it. I mean, I think this goes back to, Glenn, I am shocked that we still have not held China to account on what they've done with COVID. And then you go and you look into not only did they let COVID out, whether maliciously or not, but we funded that research. Think about that. I mean, all of these things, if you go and you peel it back, this is not that you can be with China sometimes. You have to see China as our number one threat in the world. They are continuing to strengthen their military, modernize their military. They have the largest naval fleet in the world. They have more air defense systems than we do. They are continuing to steal intellectual property. They are continuing now to surveil Americans, and we're allowing that to happen. Apparently, we have no issue with that with our athletes. They are continuing to heavily invest in South America and Africa. They are constantly going and getting these projects just so that they can turn around and get their ports, get their military installations, get their utilities. They are, I have said for a long time, the biggest issue I have is President Xi has a commission that he chairs that says any company that does business with China has to cooperate with our Chinese military, has to cooperate with their Chinese military. Think about our data companies, Glenn. Think about our tech companies. Think about our financial data. Think about our health data. They have access to all of that.
Google will not help us, our country, but Google is helping China develop AI. And if anyone understands AI, the country that gets it first will rule. And China is buying Google and buying off everyone, and we Americans are over there helping them develop AI.
Glenn, China is leading the charge on AI. And just for your listeners to understand, artificial intelligence, what they do is they are getting a machine that learns from trial and error. So that this is not a person behind the machine. This is the machine acting on its own. And so when you go and you start to allow all of this technology and all of these machines to start doing something that is Chinese-led, there's going to reach a point where those systems are going to overcome everything. China's not wasting a second in trying to dominate. And we have to stop. And all we're doing is infighting. We've got a lot of infighting within our country, and the rest of the world is taking off because they see us as so incredibly distracted.
But honestly, Nikki, it is because our agencies have completely surrendered to either, and I'd love to talk to you about this at some point, this global idea of a great reset, where the corporations and, as Joe Biden says, public-private partnerships, where it's a different system entirely. They've either surrendered to that or they surrendered to the Chinese, and they don't care anymore. They don't care. I had a congressman tell me last week that our FBI is now, and this is a really buttoned up, calm congressman. He's not a flamethrower. He said the FBI, he considers them to be the KGB at this point. They're completely out of control. Who is going to step in as the president who has the balls to shut these agencies down and restaff them? We don't need a great reset. We need to turn the computer off and on and restore to factory settings.
It's a clean house situation. It's changing with the times. You know, I said, when you look at just our CIA, Biden is a failure. We know that. But how did our intelligence agencies not know what was going to happen in Afghanistan? How did that happen? How did we not know about 9/11? How have all of these things have continued to happen in the intelligence agencies for years, and we're behind the gun? We don't even see things as they're happening. I saw it at the State Department. As UN ambassador, we literally stopped listening to the State Department and did our own thing. Everything you saw me do with the UN, I did by talking to the president directly, and we made moves at the UN, because if it were up to the State Department, we would never have gotten out of the Iran deal. We never would have held North Korea to account. We never would have started calling out China and made sure they weren't infiltrating agencies. We never would have punished Russia for all that they were doing in terms of hacking and cyber problems. None of that was happening. And so they sit back because they're either being paid by someone or they're friends with someone that's got foreign interests. That's the problem. Until we decide that this is about America and American lives and protecting it, we are completely compromised.
Nikki Haley, former ambassador to the United Nations, also former South Carolina governor and author of the book With All Due Respect. She has an article in USA Today. Congratulations, U.S. athletes. What she is saying is you're entering an evil country that is going to monitor everything you do, think, and look at. Be really careful. Nikki, it's great to talk to you. As always, thank you for your service, and thanks for being very clear on China. Appreciate it.
Thank you, my friend. I look forward to seeing you soon.
You got it.